You are now listening to For All Nerds Show, a podcast about geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. For All Nerds is hosted by DJ Ben Amin and Tatiana Keene Jones. For All Nerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
For All Nerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/forallnerds.
Welcome to the For All Nerds Show.
And welcome, Internet, to another episode of For All Nerds, the podcast where we talk about geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. It is I, your host, Tatiana King, along with...
Hi, this is Joel. I am the For All Nerds intern, aka Jubilation Unit, and the X-Men's OnlyFans manager.
Excellent. And you will see here my Russian sister down there. We're actually like the glasses siblings today. I don't know what's going on. This was not planned, but it's very cute. I love the vibe. Anastasia, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I like to say formerly known as, Lux. Used to be a content creator in these streets, but I'm just here to talk shit, and have a good time. And I go where the fun is. So the fun is here and I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. And we are here today we are gathered here today. It sounds very like church. But we are gathered here today to talk X-Men 97, episode 4, titled Motendo / Lifedeath Part 1. Before we get into running down the entire episode and the recapping and all that other stuff, I just want you guys' opinion. Just how have you been feeling about X-Men 97 thus far? Especially if you've watched the original X-Men series back in Fox Kids days, and what do you see and how are you feeling about the new presentation? Anyone go first?
Yeah, you go ahead, Joe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to watch the old one. I had to start rewatching it when I found that X-Men 97 was coming, because I was like, oh, I don't remember this shit.
I didn't even try to go back. I was just I'll get it.
I was like, okay, let me watch a few episodes. I mean, it definitely is very similar to what I remember it, very over dramatic, trying to pack a lot of story in these tiny episodes. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I love all the Easter eggs and cameos. I'm such a huge X-Men fan, so I'm like, oh, did you see that? Oh, did you catch that? Oh, that was cool. So I'm loving it so far.
Amazing. What about you?
Yeah, same for me. I never watched it consistently when the old show was on, but I always caught episodes. And I was hoping that they were going to be able to capture the nostalgia, and I feel like they did so perfectly. It made me want to go back and rewatch everything. It makes me want to read X-Men, and that's why I'm so excited about it. I feel like they're showing off. I really do.
Absolutely.
With every episode, I'm like, oh, okay. Because you guys did not have to do that, but you did, and I thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun, and I will say that I have been thoroughly enjoying the first 3 episodes. I mean, the jokes were flying everywhere. I mean, it was perfect. I had initial misconception of what this would be when I first started, so I was taken aback at first, but then I fell into the groove. Okay, now I know where you guys are going with this, and it's giving camp. I love it, and it's giving camp, it's giving nostalgia. And it's just also giving creativity, because I do like that, even though they're also going deeper into other stories that we didn't get to see before, they're doing it in a little bit different way than we expected. So like I said, I've been enjoying it. Did y'all like episodes 1 through 3? Was there anything in particular where you were like, that's horrible? Or did you think, oh no, this is perfect? Even characters or even storyline, how they did it?
I think they've nailed so much. Even though I wasn't sure, because Magneto, the character design for Magneto, I was like, okay, it's giving Disco Poppy. I'm not sure where we're going with it.
I love his.
But
First of
it
all,
really grew on me. But I'm also a Magneto stan. Magneto can do no
okay,
wrong, and
yeah.
I will argue. I will argue the crowd. So for me, kind of seeing the character you're comfortable in the okay, I guess I'll be good because I'm
Mm-hmm.
here to fulfill the wishes. It was kind of nice to see that transition from the end of, the first episode into the second and the third.
Mm-hmm.
We did get a break from him
Hmm.
this episode, but I think the writing's been phenomenal. The art has been great. I've just been gushing. Like all I've been doing is talking about it because it really does. I don't know. It feels like we might get that old thing back. And I hate to be hopeful, but it just feels really good right now, 4 episodes in.
I think we're there. What about you, Joel?
Yeah, I think something I really love about it is all the characters like feel really true to like the essence of who they are. Like when we finally got to see Storm strut in her Omega level shit and be like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
winds, let me like a glass
Yeah.
tornado because I'm a stunt on y'all bitches." Like I
Yes.
loved it, and like Magneto being all with his long monologues and being overly dramatic with his long hair. I'm like, this is Magneto. Like all he does is talk his shit and like feel very like preachy. But yeah, I just love that like we get to see them in like a
Mm-hmm.
new adaptation, but like they're all feel very much their essence of like who they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel you. Okay, so let's get into episode 4. The first part of it, and that was interesting. I don't. I maybe I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize they were gonna put like basically 2 episodes. It's really one episode with the first 75% is all about Jubilee and Roberto, and then the last part is about Storm. But the Motendo side is where we get a lot of Jubilee. And I will say in previous episodes that we covered, I had said, well, I wonder if we're even going to see Jubilee like that, or if they're going to kind of pay her dust. Like, I feel like my memories, and I'm sure that they're biased, but I feel like in my memories, they didn't do, there was maybe 1 or 2 episodes, but I feel like they didn't do a lot on the animation side anyway. So I was just like, oh, they're going to pay her dust again, or we going to get her. And then literally this episode came out. So I was like, all right, that's cute. I like that y'all doing this. At the same time, and I'm sure people will disagree with me, this may felt kind of filler to me. Like this part of it was a Jubilee commercial, which was nice, but it's also just like it felt very side questy to me.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like in the old one, Jubilee's just like the whiny child that like they
Yes,
have
and
to
that's why I
bring
didn't like her.
along everywhere.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think like they tried to like do a spin on that. It's like, oh, like, will she forever be the whiny child? No, she gotta grow. She has to like realize that she can't be a kid forever. It was like very Peter Pan syndrome. Like, oh, older
Mm,
Jubilee had to be like, get it together. Like, you're a grown
mm,
up now. You're 18. Like, you're a mutant. You gotta know what that means in the world by now. But that's all the stuff that you've been through. Like, time to
that
grow
makes
up.
sense. That makes
Yeah, I
sense.
have to say I didn't really remember her much from the first go round either. She's not really a character I paid attention to a lot. So it was really cool to see that, like, okay, so we might, get glimpses in the future of what we're seeing. And yeah, showing that kind of coming of age where it's like, yeah, it's gamey, it's nerdy,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually you're gonna have to make this choice between, being a kid, which can we talk about how it was even possible that they got tricked by that video game that was very obviously evil and very obviously a trap? Did we
I,
miss the episode with the clone baby shenanigans? Like, were we not paying attention? No? Okay,
it
just
wouldn't
me.
be it wouldn't be camp, and it wouldn't be X-Men 97 if that didn't happen, if you weren't this easily fooled by anything. I mean, I had made the argument like in what episode 1 or 2. I'm like, how did both Bishop and Storm get taken out by a little exploding generator or whatever it is? And you're talking about a mega level mutant. It was like the whole idea of just picking and choosing when things actually matter, and it's just like,
It
oh,
was
they
1997. She was excited to see a Nintendo 64 in her room. She said,
and
"Oh snap, we got a
And
game."
was that like a Nintendo 64 slash Genesis? Like I was just trying to figure out what that was. This whole approach was, I would say, because it was a cartridge, right?
Hmm, it was a
Yeah, it
cartridge.
was.
Okay,
I think there were probably nods to the game, but I never played the X-Men game.
okay. No, no, no. Wait a minute. Like no Capcom versus X-Men either.
Yeah.
PlayStation. Oh,
No, I
damn.
was I was a old I was I say I was a late in life gamer. I didn't start
Okay.
gaming until I was like 18.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I miss the really good old formative stuff.
Oh no, you gotta go back and play. Or ever been like to arcade in a movie theater where like they would
have it, yeah.
that's where it is.
I
Okay,
was like, I
that's
remember
fine.
playing the little X-Men game that
Yeah,
looked just like it did on the show, where you're like scrolling around and
yes,
like fighting
yes.
the people on the street.
And that's what I loved about just the motif of this episode. Like from an art direction standpoint, it was gorgeous and it was amazing. I liked how they jumped between a lot of different art styles. Like obviously she got, and to your point, Anastasia, I don't understand how they got tricked like that, but her and Roberto got sucked into a 16-bit video game. So then you saw the 16-bit style graphics, right? And the typical gaming tropes. Like she even called them out, which is very, again, very funny, very great in terms of writing and very good in terms of just having that humor to touch upon and share with the audience. But before we get into the game part, I did want to just mention that we love Magneto. He is such a messy slut. Nemi, first of all, he's dressed, and this is not slut shaming. He is dressed like a slut. Let's be
They're letting
very
all the
clear.
men out, and I'm here for
Yeah.
it. Like
All
for
And
his
it's-
little booty shorts, I'm like,
And he
show
looks
us,
good.
show
Little
us the
crop
body.
top.
And that's the thing. He looked good doing it. But I also can't take him seriously when he's sitting there with like lace gloves and he's talking about that is not in my stature and I don't do these things. I'm like, okay, house mother, calm down. Like I just he's a lot. And then with his monologues, but I love him, so I just let him get away with murder. But that whole exchange between him, Rogue, and Gambit, where it was just more the continuation of all of that messy, the love, now it will be a love triangle, the messy stuff that's been going on. And I want to see more. I will say that. I do agree I want to see more, but it's also, again, it's just messy. And it's just like, you don't need to do this. So I don't know.
Is it X-Men if there isn't a messy love triangle though?
Right, like the X-Men fuck everybody. It's so incestuous in that group. They always groping, touching, love triangles, love quadrangles, like everything.
Yeah. Ben Amin on the last episodes, he was, and I agreed with him, where we were just like, there's something more going on with, what's the changeling? I keep calling him a changeling guy. Morph. There's something going on with Morph and Logan.
Oh, Morph is trying to
Am I the
spread
only
it
one
wide
who's
open
seen
for
this?
Wolverine. Like he's trying to
Yeah,
bottom
there's some
so hard.
undertones there. There's some undertones. But is it I
It feels
don't
an
know
overtone
if
to me.
but I don't know if it's yearning or I
Okay.
don't know if it's like I need a father figure. I don't know.
Or a daddy.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's I need a daddy or I need a daddy. Like I'm not quite
The
sure.
way that the intonation in your voice on the second daddy, I was like, wait a minute. That might be it. He turned into freaking Sabretooth. Like, that is insane. Like, if you listen to what Ben had mentioned, Sabretooth is, at the end of the stories, is known for killing all of Logan's lovers. Then you turn into him for shits and giggles, and then y'all romping in the grass together. Like, that's all sex. I don't care what anybody says.
That is his bestie though. Like I remember in the original season, like original series, when Morph died, like Logan was the one that took it the hardest. He was like, "You let Morph die. Like, how did you let that happen, Cyclops?" So like, they definitely have had like a history of like that's the homie.
Okay. Well, they turned up the other part of that.
It's a little more.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they take it. I like that they're overt about queer coded things. It's not it's not like, hey, maybe.
It's like, no, this is probably happening.
It's like, yeah, probably. Yeah. More than likely.
And then this whole thing with Magneto, and he's gonna be very catty with Gambit.
Poor Gambit. He doesn't deserve that, man. He don't.
Is it poor Gambit? I mean, right now they're kind of playing him to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just join the throuple, Gambit. Like we can be 3.
I guess. I just wanted to mention that because again, but even though we only see these people very, very briefly in the beginning, Logan with his kicking over there, and then we get, as mentioned, Jubilee thrown and Roberto randomly thrown into this game. you said you didn't play, but I remember this like Mojo from Marvel vs. Capcom and all those types of games that was actually a playable character and also an enemy at some point. I did like how it was like, as you said, it was I like how you explained it, Anastasia, that it was a learning process for her, right? Like it was about, oh, you can't, even though it's very easy for things to stay the same, you really want to grow. And that's not life when you are stuck in one place.
And I hope they
Yeah.
continue that trend. I think it would be very easy to kind of fall into mirroring the old show in every single way, but there's so much opportunity to explore these characters in new ways and kind of actually take it forward, because we have been kind of stuck in the cycles with the stories that we have seen from these franchises. But are we seeing growth, and are we seeing art that's really holding up to the time? And I think that's what I've been enjoying so far about X-Men. Like X-Men has always been about that social commentary, and what better time for a show like X-Men to be on. So I'm also kind of looking to them to see like, hey, are you going to push the envelope, or are you going to kind of fall into comfort, making sure that nobody is offended and everybody is, because it's already battling the woke charges from the fanboys. It's already like, oh, X-Men is so woke. I'm like, have you ever engaged with
do you know what
X-Men
it's
ever in your
about?
life?
Where the hell have you been all this time?
Like, have you been alive for X-Men? Because it's kind of always been this. But it's really nice to see. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of
yeah.
Roberto, that is actually one of my qualms about X-Men 97.
Oh, talk
I
about
just
it.
feel like, so I think like knowing the history of Roberto, especially as like an Afro-Brazilian person, um, it's just a little whitewashed. Like
I was
he's
just gonna
real
say
light. I looked at his voice actor, I was like, oh,
he's a little paper baggy.
yeah, and it's like the history of Roberto actually is like his powers are activated because he's half black and half like whatever Latin or Brazilian he is, and he's in a soccer game and like the other team is like harassing him because he's black. And like as they like jump him, basically, like his powers are activated. And so like that's a big part of who Roberto is. And the way that like it's not even just X-Men 97, but like in so many of the X-Men adaptations, like Roberto was always made to be this like lighter, almost white Brazilian, when that's not who he is. And like that's also a big part of who he is and like how he embraces his like mutantness.
Right. So and I remember reading up about that. And because I didn't know much about his character, but I remember reading up about that, and people were saying that like he's not beating the whitewashing allegations, like this is a thing. But then now you're giving this backstory, like, oh, and also just even thinking about his powers as Sunspot, right? Like, is that's like a solar type? Is that like an energy and stuff like that? And it just seems like that would be very well suited for a more melanated type of individual.
Just like why is Superman white when he's getting his powers from the sun? So
I'll just say because he's a Kryptonian. He's a Kryptonian.
Yeah.
He's a Kryptonian. That's all.
Especially, yeah.
We'll leave it
Especially
there.
for that, yeah.
But Roberto is here on Earth. Maybe I don't even know if this is Earth 616, but he's here on Earth. So I don't know. But good point, Joel. And also, I wanted to actually tap on you because you made a note about how there's so much 90s nostalgia in this episode. I mean, obviously the whole 90s X-Men 97, but this particularly. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I just felt like there were so many like little nods to like the 90s, like when older Jubilee first appeared and they're like, who is this like Hot Topic stalker? And I had to look it up. I was like, was Hot Topic around back then? And then I was like, oh, 1989. Dang, it was down for a while.
I felt very personally attacked. Me.
I was like, Hot Topic is still there, first of all. Hot Topic was the little spot. And like if you're bored and you happen to be in a mall and it's there, you might as well go in.
Cute shirts. Okay.
Yeah.
If you were allowed in, my Christian parents did not let me go into that. That was the devil's work.
You too.
So.
When I was a kid, my mom
we've all suffered pain. We've all suffered pain. We deserve compensation.
My mom didn't let me in either. She was like, nah, that's kind of demonized in there. And then come to find out, it's just a bunch of like 16-year-olds that are bored. But okay, so yes, the Hot Topic stuff.
And then there was the
Um,
like little flashes of like a different world,
yes.
and I
Yeah.
forgot what the other one was, Magneto, but I was like, oh, look at these little '90s callbacks.
They did a different world and they did another one. Not Living Single. Shouts out to Stephanie Williams, the comic book writer. But they did another one, another like I thought it was like another black sitcom they did. I don't remember. I'm sure it'll pop up again. But
Mhm.
no, I do love the callbacks. And like even there was something I had mentioned like in another it might have been Roberto. Like he was like the last episode when he was leaving or he was going someplace. And Julie was like, well, how can I find you? He was like, just page me. And I was like, page? I was just like, wait a minute. I forgot what year this is. Like, what are y'all talking about? But I do like that they're true to it. Obviously, they're true to the design. They're true to the 90s in terms of the fashions and the hair and all that other stuff. And then it just fits in so well, especially with this episode that's very, again, Sega Genesis N64 coded. Love it. We do get like again, I did feel like even though it was nice to see her, I did feel there was a little bit filler. So I was just like kind of like, let's get through this. Like I don't know, was I the only one who felt that way, or did you like was like really into this?
I like it, but it was
Okay.
definitely, I feel like something to change the pace. It started off very heavy. Things
Mm,
got really rough. Okay.
mm,
They done shot up Storm.
mm.
Magneto done took the UN to outer space in the middle of it was a lot. So it was, I think it was a cute reset to
Mhm.
change the pace, and to give everybody some time to cool off. And also I feel like a lot happened, but it didn't feel as heavy, even though a lot still happened because you did get, some development. The kiddos got their
Mhm.
kiss off. I don't know why that man told Storm he loved her. And
We,
can I say, like, we need to bring back real yearners. Episode 3 and 4, you kissing and you in love? You just met her
I,
an episode ago. You don't know her.
and we're gonna get there. I thought that was quite a jump. It felt stalker, but I was just like, okay, like it was cute, but then it was also just like, wait a minute, how did we get from point A to point B? And then again, we don't know how long Storm has been with him, right? Because where did he say he found her in Texas or whatever? And now, they've been chilling. We don't know how long they've been. But we'll get to that. Um Anything else just typically to mention about Jubilee's side of this album, this record, the Motendo side of the record, side A.
Oh, I thought it was
I
interesting to see Mojo, like,
Yes,
especially with
that's
Skinny
what
his
I
little
Merjo
said.
like
versus the
liposuction
Ozempic.
And I
Mojo
love the
Mojo.
versus
voice
like,
actor
Yeah.
for him. It was great. It
Yeah.
was very it was very fun. It was like that gleeful kind of evil, and I
Yes.
really think it suited the character design really well.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it.
Yes, and the whole thing about being so focused on ratings and gotta make shows and stuff like that, I was just like, I felt like I've seen this character before in other shows, but to your point, it was illustrated very well. We did get another Easter egg. Spiral appeared again. We did see Morph turn into Spiral, like as a gag, like a episode or two back. Um, and then I just wanted to say the character design for future Jubilee, beautiful. Love, love, love. As they call it, she called her hot topic stalker, but but no, but like she looks so good, and I like that she was there. Like you never know when they say what would you tell your future self, or if your future self could tell your young self something to help them get through their life. What would you tell them? I felt it was very much that.
Mhm. And then also getting to see Jubilee's like powers explored more instead of just like,
Yes.
oh, let me just show you a little light show. Like she actually shows that she can do some damage when she like puts her mind to it. And I think that was really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely love the creative problem solving. I like that so far you're not bored by anyone's powers, even though you've seen them use them umpteen times. Like
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Scott using his lasers to
To
shift to the other
move.
side of the room. I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, that's hot. Do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
Jubilee
so
was doing
it's
something like that too, like
yeah,
Yeah.
using
it
the
was
fireworks
very
to propel
fun.
her.
And then sort of like the charge up to
Mm-hmm.
like, they're showing that they know how to work as a team. So even though we haven't seen them in a while, we can kind of chart their growth to be like, okay, they know how to strategize. They're not overly dependent on Xavier. They're still doing what they have to do and making it work. It's not a perfect situation, but they're making it work. And I love that you don't need the one guy. Jean isn't there, so they might lose. Storm lost her powers, so they might lose. Shorty got sucked into a video game, so no one knows what's going to happen. Everyone's kind of holding their own and figuring their own story out instead of letting the bleed over, knock
Yes.
everything down. And I do, like I said, I love that. I'm here for all the character growth.
Yeah, you are absolutely right when it comes to how they've been displaying their powers. Like they're much more creative than I remember them being, at least in the animation. And I will say I've always also been the one to be like, Jubilee's useless, just because I always thought it's literally just firecrackers, fireworks. Like, what is that supposed to do? And then even like, and I could tell like they and maybe she was nerfed back in the day. Her powers really are much more stronger than we think, because even in the game, like when she was doing her little blast, she was hitting Sentinels, and Sentinel was like actually feeling it. And I was like, okay. And then I love when she did that like power sharing kind of move with Future Jubilee, like regular Jubilee and Future Jubilee. And I call it like they did a Destructo disc and a Spirit Bomb. It was all DBZ coded, and I loved it. They did very well with that. So there were some cool things that happened. So, but I will say I do love seeing them do different things with the powers that is beyond what we even thought that they could do. Right. So I like you mentioned Cyclops. I felt like when he did that, people were like, wait a minute, was there some story where he did that? Like, is there something that backs that up? But then it's just like, well, even if there is or isn't, it doesn't matter. Like it makes sense, right? So, and that's all I like. I like the fact that even though you've never seen it before or you're not sure if can they really do that, it still makes sense.
And their powers are a part of them. So like as you get older, you learn how to use a part of you in like different ways that like benefit you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Then we head into she wins at the end. Okay, great. Moving on. We head into the Life-Death part 1 part of the story. And like I continuously keep feeling worse and worse for Storm. I mean, obviously this is a major story arc of hers from the comics. And then we get some really iconic panel shots of her from the comics again about this whole situation she goes through where she really does lose her powers and is finding herself. And to again see this in an animation form and again, just beautiful animation work, and to see the pain in her eyes, and like to truly have something you feel is your core being ripped from you, like on some violated type stuff, like that was beyond sad for me. And to see her like, even you've seen a little bit, you've seen her trying to deal with it, like I just felt very emotional for her.
Yeah, I hate that it had to be her. Like I know this is an arc, but did we really, man?
Like, did I have to see this?
Yeah, as soon as she jumped, and I was like, oh, my baby. And I was just like, we've come a long way, because they got her, they got her skin tone right, they got her hair right, her voice actor, love her. I'm just like, please. I couldn't have Storm for a good 3-4 episodes before you snatched her powers like that.
I know.
Also, Marvel, stop like throwing these black women in front of guns for white people. Like
it's giving racism.
Yeah, Monica. Hi. Yeah, but I don't know. But I gave them again. I just gave them I was just like, I gave them a pass because I was like, okay, this is canon, whatever. I still also didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Forge. You mentioned about him just immediately loving her after 2 minutes. And I mean, the fact he's a huge simp, and I thought it was kind of cute, but I was like, well, is he also using her like as a mea culpa for all of his past transgressions?
Forge wanted to be Captain Save-A-Ho. Like he was like, oh, here's a girl that I caused her problems. Let me save her, and then she'll just go into my arms, and we'll be happily ever after. It's like that's not how it works, Forge, and not with Storm if anybody. Like,
That's not how it works, period. And too many men think that that's the way, but that's not how it works.
And it's more so like, if she could forgive me, I can forgive myself. Because if you really were about doing things the right way, you would have just told her. Because you cannot get an unethical outcome with an unethical approach. It just doesn't work. So it doesn't really matter. And I think that's kind of what Magneto's lesson has always been before, where it's like, hey, you have beautiful ideas. Love you, babe. How you're going about it, absolutely ridiculous. You cannot do that.
Yeah. So when he was explaining, he was like, well, if I told the truth, you wouldn't have came with me.
And that's a risk you have to be willing to take, because now you've broken trust. So now you have two things down. Instead of just being the guy that created these devices that could possibly help me, now it's the guy that created these devices that could possibly help me, that lied to me, who is now telling me that he's in love with me, but he waited to tell me those two things together. It's
When you
not
put it like that.
it's yeah, you're not building trust, but like you're the op. And rightfully so. And I think you cannot control how people react to you when you wrong them. And wanting to control that reaction in of itself is an issue. You should have just been straight up. Of course, she might have been mad. That's the correct response. It's messed up what you did. You got to eat that. If you can help, you should be trying to help anyway. Get to building the device, babes, because she's not going to be the only one affected. You know that this weapon is out there. What's the holdup?
His other excuse was that it was just he drew up the schematics basically, but he ain't really build it. It was some guy in Sweden or whatever country he blamed it on. But at the end of the day, it's on you. You're Forge. You're the genius level intellect that can build damn near anything or maybe anything. This is on you. I just felt like he was always like kind of like trying to throw the blame elsewhere. It was like, no, this is
And
you,
Storm
my
clocked
boy.
him for that. Like, there is that
Yes.
line where she said, like, you of all people should know the perils of trusting the people in Washington. And it's like,
Talk
Ford, you
about
are
that.
Native American. Like, you
Be
know the
so for
history of
real.
how your
Yeah.
people have trusted white men in Washington to like do the right thing for you, and over again they have fucked you over. So like Storm was like, girl, you should know that these are not the people to trust. Like Pocahontas, these white men are dangerous. Like, we don't do that. Like, you should have known better. And then you left without like taking your shit with you. Like, if I had left up and like, well, I'm erasing the hard drives, no one's getting any of my plans. Like,
Right.
taking that to go.
Or at the very least, you say, hey, I'm the one who built these plans. This shit is wrong. We need to fix this. You don't get to kind of be a genius and just kind of like hide your hands and be like, well, I wasn't actually the one that did it. I didn't actually shoot her with it. Cool. But without you, it wouldn't exist. So you should be part of the solution, and it shouldn't wait until you're thrust into this situation. Of course, you fell in love with Storm. Who wouldn't? That's not a big no, big whoop there. But you should have already been working on this. You should have been looking for people who could have built it.
And that's why she slapped the shit out of him. Like, no.
Yeah, I was like, get
and I
him.
love that. Like, I have my misgivings about other simps in this series, i.e. Scott Summers. I don't like him. Scott is such a bitch, okay? But we'll talk about that another time. Yes, I do not like the nigga. Come at me in the comments. We'll talk about it later. But I don't know, like, and the other thing that was weird, and Storm mentioned this about like where they were, like where exactly were they? They in Arizona, in the Grand Canyon, something like that. They're in some weird place because Texas. Oh, they are in Texas. But where are they? In truly Texas or in some weird like nega zone? Because Storm made a comment about the wind always blowing east, and that's why this eagle keeps circling around. He doesn't leave, right? And she was talking about how everything stays the same. And then I think towards the end of the episode where it's revealed that there's this big villain. I called it a Baltimore Raven, but Joel corrected me. It was like it's the adversary. reveals like you see Storm riding off, like before the villain comes. You see her riding off because she's upset with Ford, slap the shit out of him, get the fuck out of my face. She goes off, listening to Riverdance on Beyonce's album, and then she basically tumbles down a ditch, but she doesn't fall into, and die. She falls back into the house. And I'm just like some weird, like funhouse type situation where you don't really leave, everything stays the same. And I'm just like, are they caught up in something and don't know it? Or,
Which makes me think like maybe Forge did fix Storm's powers, but like where they are, she can't feel the wind because there's no weather there. And so like maybe that's what's going on is like the adversary has them in some weird like bubble world and Storm actually
Mhm.
can do her shit again, but because of like where they are, there's no atmosphere for her to control, and that's why she can't feel it.
That would make sense.
I would love for that to be the truth. Now watch them do exactly the opposite next week. But I don't know. I just, when she said that, and then I was like watching the rest, I was like, wait a minute, this is strange. Are they where they say they are? But whatever. What? There were some more Easter eggs in this. Oh yeah, Joel, you had a note about the Easter egg
Oh
here.
yeah, Forge told like Storm like you better than anybody should know how fast the weather can change. And I was like, where have I heard that before? And I looked it up. It was Charles said that to Storm in X-Men The Last Stand. And I was like, oh, y'all
Oh,
cute, like switching out lines between your adaptations.
okay. Did y'all like X-Men Last Stand? Did y'all like the Fox adaptations?
I like two out of all of them if I had to pick,
Uh,
but
uh,
they're not
uh,
my faves.
no.
Beautiful gowns.
Oh, okay. Beautiful cows. What? I mean, obviously, because that's just the way the story is gonna go. Obviously, Storm's gonna forgive this man. Forgive, not forget, right? And but also in the comics, they have a very contentious relationship anyway. Like, again, Ben was sharing that with me, where it's just like their relationship's kind of fucked up anyway. So I guess it's fitting that again within 5 minutes he's like, "I love you," but I'm also just like, it feels also very toxic, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned because again, Storm is in a very vulnerable spot, and now you with this toxic ass man who says he wants to help, but then like you got to deal with his emotional trauma too. I don't know.
Isn't that always how it goes though? And I hate that generally speaking, female characters generally have to put aside whatever it is that they're feeling for the greater good. And usually that thing that they're putting aside is their hurt, their pain, or disrespect. I feel like we always have to make that choice where it's like, we know that there is no way that this should happen. But we also know that Forge is a character in this world.
Yeah.
And we know that chances are, and we're already like, we have two love triangles. We got the two youngsters making out in the video.
Young
You know
love.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, bring back yearning.
Yeah. The two divorcees in the other room, whoever they are.
Magneto and Rogue being weird in the training room. Like, there's a lot happening. There's a lot happening.
Okay, and obviously, like this is limited episodes. I was gonna say, how long is it gonna take Forge to fix this? The TARDIS he threw her in before did not work. So what now? How's this gonna happen? And how they gonna get out of this situation with the adversary?
The way these episodes are moving fast,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's gonna take that long. And I did read today that they bought season 3, so we're definitely getting a season 3.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm not here for the Scott, Wolverine, Jean Grey. Not that much yearning. Somewhere in the middle. So
Well, you're gonna get that
by the end of
anyway.
season 1, I hope that we see Storm getting her powers back, but I do appreciate that it's not an immediate fix. I appreciate that there is some more there.
Uh-huh.
And I hope that we do get to see a continuation of whatever is going on with Techno Clone Baby.
No, Cable. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot happening
Which is
in
weird
4 episodes.
because they've met Cable in the old series. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was like.
y'all don't remember your child?
I recall them meeting him, unless he like erased their memories or something like that. Or this is just a different version. You know how, again, the multiverse. This is just a different version of what they've been done. But doesn't make sense though, because Jubilee and other people recall stuff that's happened back in the original X-Men
It's always
animated series.
selective, yeah.
So, okay, whatever. It is what it is. I do know that we do get a few other episodes, maybe 1 or 2 more episodes before we get Life Death Part 2. Which I presume has to be the conclusion of this very condensed arc. They even did that, like, even with the whole Madeline Pryor thing, like, I was like, that's a jump. Like, for the whole clone thing, and all of a sudden, when you said, what's your name? She gives a very specific, call me Madeline Pryor. That's a very specific, thought out name. Like, like if someone just says, what's your stripper name? You're going to be sitting there for at least 10 minutes to try to figure it out. So it just seems very unlikely to me that would happen. But this is TV magic. You got to do what you got to do. We are not going to have too much time with all these characters, but I do appreciate you said we're going to get obviously we get an episode, season 2, but we're going to get a season 3 as well. Do y'all want more episodes? Right now, I think they're only having 10 episodes this season. Do you think they need more episodes? Do you think they need more time, longer episodes, or everything's perfect?
I wish for longer episodes, but I also feel like if we got a longer episode with the heaviness of, say, the first 3 episodes, that might be overkill. So even though it always leaves you wanting more, I think that's the perfect place to be in with it. Just so that they don't, I think, overdo it and they can pace the writing and really think about how they want to flesh out the story. Because guaranteed 3 seasons, that's still 30 episodes. I don't need 20 episodes. I'm okay. Give me 10 good episodes though, as long as they're 10 good ones.
Yeah, I think for me, like, I'm just kind of curious, like, where is this going with everything? Like, is this eventually going to connect to other stuff? Which, like, if it does, cool. But, like, I'm also happy if it's just, like, its own universe and we just get to have, like, the X-Men in their own bubble. But it's like, what are y'all's plans for this? Like, I just need to know so that I can be like invested in whatever it is. Like, I'm happy if like the X-Men just get their own thing. They don't need to be involved with all the shenanigans happen in the live action stuff. And it's like they deal with their problems and that's it. And that's cool. But like if this is gonna connect to other stuff, like rip the band-aid already so that I can get to the good stuff of the X-Men, which is like the stuff we're kind of seeing now, which is like their own problems, their own issues, like they're solving their own things and it doesn't have to do with all the random other stuff happening in the world.
Right. I initially did feel like, this is going to connect to the MCU at some point and to live action. But then I'm like, really, right now, the MCU is not in the best spot. And they actually have a lot of rebuilding and rebuilding of trust to do. And I actually, some of the more recent movies I actually enjoyed to varying degrees. But overall, like, they don't have that sparkling reputation that it once had, right? Where it was just like, yo, we got to connect. And Joel's fading off into the moonlight.
I was like, oh my God.
I'll let you put on a light or something. But it's actually, I agree with y'all. Or you, Joe, I don't actually want them to even deal with that at all. Like, if it could be its own bubble, fine, let it be its own bubble. But I feel like, especially if when they start redeeming the live action, they're going to make it connect at some point. I mean, they threw Monica. I mean, that was the Fox version, but they threw Monica in. Like,
we've gotten a lot of cameos, and I don't think I want them to connect it.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. I feel like X-Men has the same issue that DC has. Your lane is animation. Stay there. Bang out the animations, give us some amazing animated movies. Hell, put the animated movies in the movie theater. We'll buy the ticket.
I will
That
go.
ain't no, that's not a problem. But the issue is when they are trying to be Marvel. X-Men has never really been able to find its identity fleshed out in the live action. And whenever the animated series does good, or the game does good, or people get nostalgic for X-Men, they do a live action movie that we don't acknowledge. They do a live action movie where they get one thing right and most things wrong.
I have a question for you then. Do you think that's just a symptom of just the type of stories these are about, and having an issue, just having not being good at translating it? Or do you think this is Fox's fault? Because remember, Fox was doing all this, the movies anyway, all this time, and then now now Marvel got it. So do you think that things can change?
I think they really have to commit to what works. It's okay to not be Marvel. And I think right now, the interest is in replicating that. It is in creating an expansive world in exactly the same way. They always start with the movies, and Batman's done it. And every time the movies it doesn't take off the way that they expect it to, they give it 2 years and they start it over. It doesn't work. The stories are darker, they're messier. It gets really weird and awkward when that's on the big screen.
Yeah.
The audience is not going to be as wide. It's not as palatable for everyone. You're not going to be able to have a lot of rated E for everyone shows. You're just not. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with saying our strength is writing really good character development. Our strength is seeing things through the end. Our strength is a callback from, you have to build your own strengths. But instead, it's, why can't you love us like you love Marvel? It's like, babes, I don't want to see the messy love triangle in a movie over 8 years. I don't.
I don't either. Like, I don't. I'm completely done with that.
Yeah, but the animated series, it's great.
Yeah.
It's lovely. I hope they spend time and pour energy into continuing to deepen that world. So like Joel, I really hope they keep it as their own standalone thing, because it does deserve that attention. It does deserve, the writing has been great. It's been great. They really just need to stick to what works.
Okay. And I would say when it comes to the remainder of X-Men 97 season and even beyond, where would y'all like to see them pour more energy into? Is there a particular storyline you want them to jump into? Do you want them, when you want to see certain places in the more recent comics, certain people from the more recent comics, like, what would you like to see?
I mean, I feel like like many people, would love to see Krakoa, but I don't know how they would fit that in. I'd love to see a Hellfire Gala just for the gowns. Like, I want to see everyone stunt in their outfits. I also just I have a big hot spot for Apocalypse, and I just want to see Big Daddy A walk up and be like, "What's up, y'all? Like, it's me, the first. Welcome."
Oh, that's a good one. I would love to see Apocalypse. What about you, Anastasia?
Yeah, I think for me, X-Men has great villains, and I would love to see how they would use them now. But honestly, just happy to be here. Really happy to be here. I'm going to smile and wave for whatever I get.
And
as
happy
long
with
as
what I'm
it's
getting
good.
right
Yeah.
now.
You're happy.
And that's my thing. I'm so happy with what I'm getting. And again, I'm open to whatever it turns into, because I'm happy for it to be its own thing.
Yeah. And I do hope and I'm sorry, like the one who helped create all this, he got ousted. I don't know why. I know the rumors have been some, sexual assault type thing, and it could be, I don't know. But riding, I would say whoever comes in next and the team that comes in next to really ride the wave of this, because I'm always concerned that when something is so well received like this, then you have that pressure of replicating that over and over again. And then sometimes you have this insurmountable level that you have to meet or exceed. And when the minute you're like, it could be 100%, maybe you got to 95%, people are like, oh, it's trash. And I am concerned about that. Like sometimes when the stuff is so good and then you are expecting the world, right? The next time around. And honestly, it's a catch-22. It's like, yeah, you're good, so I expect you to be good, right? This next time around. But then it's also like sometimes I feel like it generates unrealistic expectations out of the audience as well. So
And please just have people of color in that writing room. Like the X-Men
yes.
is just such a story about marginalized peoples that like only us can tell like their
Mm-hmm.
experiences and like how it is to be in this world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, we do have writers of color that are in this season, which so I feel like it shows where it needs to show. But yeah, again, I'm just hoping that just continues on as we progress and as we grow. And I don't know. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this. I agree with y'all. Let's keep it here. Probably just keep it on TV too. I don't even know if I want to see it in the theater, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, like I don't even want them to get ideas. Like I'm so sorry I said that out loud.
yeah, I'm just like,
I
well, now
didn't
that you
mean it
mention
like
it.
that. Yeah, just
You could do like an animated movie of like a big
yeah.
event. Like I think it would be
Of a
Eventually,
really
big
cool to
event.
see
yeah,
Okay.
like an Age of
yeah,
Apocalypse kind of like little animated feature.
yeah,
That would be
Okay.
lovely, but I don't need the live action.
yeah.
I'm okay.
You say you okay. All
Hmm.
right. All right.
Yeah. And I
Go ahead.
hope so also that they know
Yes.
when to call it, because I think
Oh.
that is also
Mm,
the detriment of a lot of good shows, where because it's been good,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to keep, pouring into it, but the time has passed, or what the show came to do has already been accomplished. So I
mm.
hope they also know when to say, hey, we wanted to give you X-Men 97 and thank you for watching X-Men 97. And here's the next thing that we're working on.
Mhm.
That's very smart. And that's very hard for a lot of people, especially when things make money. They're just like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna keep going until the ship goes down.
Capitalism. Yeah.
Capitalism. Well, on that note, thank you all for watching us. Next week we are going to be reviewing episode 5 titled Remember It. We're gonna see some Genosha action, some UN action, and also stuff back at the mansion. So we'll see how that goes. It's gonna be drama, and I'm here for it. I'm a messy bitch and I live for the drama. So I'm excited for that. But before we go, please, and Joel, you can start. Just let everyone know where they can find you. If you want to share anything you're working on or any activities you're doing that you want people to join or buy a ticket or whatever it is, please share.
Sure. I'm only on Instagram because Twitter is a little too messy for me. Can't get involved in that. So you can follow me at Joelite91, JOELITE91. You can come watch my flute playing videos. I'm making some music videos, and I have some other stuff in the works. So if you follow
Very
me,
good.
you'll see the things that come out.
We have to repost your flute of the X-Men intro thing, the theme. You played that. It was very nice too. I was like, oh,
Thank
I
you.
bet.
excellent. Anastasia, please tell everyone where to find you and everything you're working on you want to share.
Well, I am at Chasing Lux on Twitter. I'm the messy, yeah, I'm the messy word girl. So I'm a Twitter girl. But you can find me anywhere, Chasing Lux. I'm always talking shit, reading books, and looking for good content.
Excellent. And thank you very much for joining.
Thank
I'm
you for having me.
glad you put it out there like, yo, I'm trying to join the podcast with some people of color and talk shit.
Yes, I'm
That's what we
here.
do.
You let me know.
Absolutely. And I have been your host, your captain for this evening. This is Tatiana King. Tatiana King on all the socials everywhere. Make sure you also follow For All Nerds on damn near every platform. Also, big ups to my brother, DJ Ben Hameen. Go to bigdjenergy.com and make sure you pre-order Hendrix, his first and most phenomenal graphic novel. Full title is Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze, written by himself and Mello Brown. Happy birthday, Mello. I know your birthday just passed, so happy birthday. And thank you everybody for listening. for watching. Again, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're listening to us. Make sure you go to our Patreon, patreon.com/ForAllNerds. And if you like this cool t-shirts that you see, the For All Nerds merch shop is on the way. It's back. It's coming back this month. Make sure you're on the lookout, especially if you've bought merch from us before. You're going to get a surprise. So be tuned in, be locked to that. And we will see you next week. Love you. Bye. Hey, what's up, internets and the fan fam? This is Tatiana King for All Nerds, and I want to thank you so much for listening and watching the For All Nerds. Make sure you like and subscribe to us only on YouTube.